Hello there, one and all, and welcome to episode 405 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, live on YouTube. As always, thank you very much for tuning in. Whether you're watching live or you're watching the recording, first comment goes to Eric, who says, "Oh, hello all. Hello to you as well, sir." Paroli is here as well, saying hello, everyone. Christine says hello from London. Excited to catch you live. It's been a while. Okay. Josh is here too, saying excited to finally catch a live. Oh, you're very welcome. Well done. You've made it. Headless Sense is here as well. So is Sharon, all the way from Dallas, Texas. Bell Boots is here too. So is Jonathan. Okay. What are we going to be up to today? If all goes according to plan, I seem to remember last week when I tried to do a live broadcast on a Sunday, the YouTube gremlins were well in force, and it turned out that there was some kind of a global issue with YouTube. So hopefully everything is going to be fairly calm today. The plan is to do 3 separate videos back to back. The first one will be on this newish Guerlain. Then we will come back with a review of a new release from a brand that, in terms of distribution and nicheness, is completely at the other opposite end of the spectrum from Guerlain. And then finally, a kind of showcase review of a set of new releases from a brand that has a lot of love out there, but maybe hasn't had a lot of love from me. But anyway, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do consider doing so. Feel free to leave a comment, ask a question at any time. And if you would like to find out how you can support my work, you should be able to see a link to my Ko-fi page in the video description below. All help is very much appreciated. Lots of comments going through. What are folks saying? Shan is here. I made it. I'm so glad. So am I. You're very, very welcome. Sebastian says, hello, best regards from Poland. Dobry wieczór. You're very, very welcome. Floating Man says, I've been waiting for this one as I just bought a sample of it this week. Ah, has your sample arrived? Have you tried it? Chloe says, hello from Nice. Bonsoir. Rumpelstiltskin says, not sure this full bottle meets the dictionary definition of sample, which you describe it. Okay. I usually don't get into a discussion of this. When I say sample, I mean that it has been provided by the brand. And I always make a distinction in the video description about, whether the item that I'm reviewing has been provided by the brand or not, and that never ever has any bearing on the content of the reviews. Andrei says, good evening, Persolaise, and all in the chat. Sandra says, don't tell me that the third live is going to be about Creed. Why would it be about, well, it's not going to be about Creed, I can tell you that now. Why would it be about Creed though? Anyway, this is I think this still counts as a new release from Guerlain. I think it's been around for what, maybe 6 weeks, something like that. This is from their L'Art et la Matière range. It's called, perhaps somewhat uninspiringly, it's called Tobacco Honey. I almost wish they'd put a little comma after tobacco so that you could kind of say, you could say the name is Tobacco Honey. No, okay, maybe not. But the L'Art et la Matière names have tended to be rather prosaic in the past. They've tended to reference at least one of the materials that is showcased in the scent. But I thought Tobacco Honey was really, really kind of spelling it out and really obvious. But anyway, that's the name. That's the name. We can live with a less than inspired name, I suppose. Woozy says, what did you think of Gourmand Coquin? I heard it'll be re-released as Fève Gourmand in the L'Art et la Matière line. I think you are right. I think it is coming back. I would need to revisit it. I think somewhere in the depths of the Persolaise archive, I have got a few drops of that. I would need to revisit it. This one I have smelt already. In fact, I gave it a bit of a wearing a little while ago. And I mean, par for the course with Guerlain these days. As soon as you mention a new Guerlain, you can almost certainly get, you can be sure that pretty much like 25% of the responses or the feedback that you get about a Guerlain is going to be positive. 25% is going to be along the lines of, oh my goodness, the brand has gone to the pits. What is this? This is terrible. What have they released? And then 50% just do a shoulder shrug and think, okay, fine, not for me. And when you have got a brand that I suppose is as massive and as long established as Guerlain, you're always going to get those mixed responses. And that 25% is going to be interchangeable. So the people who like the one will probably not like the next one, and so on and so forth. Malcolm says one could say the name is a bit on the nose. Yes, one could say that, but perhaps we're going to try to avoid saying that, Malcolm. Right, so Tobacco Honey. I remember thinking, the very first thought that came to my mind, and I think I smelt this first at the London boutique, the Covent Garden boutique. I thought, well, yes, well done. This is definitely tobacco, and it's definitely honey. So, you know, tick for that, Guerlain. You've given us what it says on the very, very expensive tin. And I'm a little bit in two minds about this scent, okay? Because as a perfume, if it were just sort of presented to me without, you know, completely blind, if I weren't told about the brand, if I weren't told that it's l'art à la matière, and definitely putting aside the cost, but I don't want to make a point about that at the moment. I would have smelt this and thought, oh gosh, this is a really, really good tobacco perfume with a nice touch of a kind of barnyardy, slightly animalic honey, because honey lends itself to those sort of animalic notes quite well. It's suitably cigar-like and cocooning and enveloping and very, very warm. You know, I think they've probably done the right thing pushing it out this time of year, because I can imagine lots of people gravitating towards that burnt firewood type smell that does emanate from this. The tobacco, you know, I'm not an expert on tobacco, but to me, it starts veering towards the territory of pipe tobacco, which is a very, very good thing. Because if I had to choose to smell one particular variety of tobacco, it would be pipe tobacco. So that means that it's kind of earthy, got a sort of gleaming wood polish feel about it, very, very woody, obviously, maybe just a touch green as well, and has got a kind of spicy inflection to it too, very, very complex. And I think that is one thing that I do like about this scent, and I don't want to sound overly dismissive of it, because you know, I do like it. I like the fact that the tobacco comes across as very complex. I like the fact that the brand are basically saying that the tobacco in it is an accord that perfumer Delphine Jelk has created. I like the fact that the honey isn't allowed to dominate. But you can tell the tone is going towards a but. I suppose the but is there enough here to justify its existence? You know, if I had to say, yes, it's offering something original, something we haven't come across before, or actually, is it a little bit derivative, albeit very, very well done? I'm still kind of veering towards it's kind of derivative, albeit very, very well done, using, you know, interesting materials and this accord that Delphine Jelk has very skillfully put together. Which, yeah, and I haven't gone beyond that yet. I haven't actually thought to myself, oh yes, okay, I can see why. I can see what it is that this brings to the conversation that maybe we haven't had before. And obviously that also made me go in my head down the sort of route of thinking of tobacco scents that I maybe consider to be a bit more interesting. You know, I'm not going to say more attractive, because this is extremely attractive. It's very, very appealing. It's very, very wearable. That it's got that kind of turning up your collar, sophisticated authoritativeness to it that is nice. And also, if we're going to talk gender codes, it's nice to have a l'art à la matière that is kind of a bit more unashamedly going towards more overtly masculine codes. But so what did I think of? And this is where you come in as well. What are some of your favorite tobacco perfumes? Malcolm says, the only tobacco scent in my collection is Caron Tobacco Blanc. Okay, Tabac Blanc, that's a classic, although what what state is it in now? That's a question we'd have to ask. Never found anything that invokes the scent of actual Virginia tobacco my father used to roll and smoke. Any recommendations, anyone? Shan, thank you. You've mentioned the one. So Malcolm, you mentioned one of the ones on my list, and Shan, so have you. Shan is wearing Jasmin et Cigarette from État Libre d'Orange. Superb, genius, but also very, very different. If you haven't smelt Jasmin and Cigarettes from État Libre d'Orange, genius perfume, but that's doing something quite different because that's a very, very obviously kind of cigarette ashtray tobacco scent mixed with jasmine, rather unexpectedly. Habanita, obviously, is another one that comes to mind. That's got a very, very beautiful vanillic tobacco note in it. Eric says, Ombre narguilé, or is that cheating? Well, I don't think that's cheating. I mean, yeah, shisha. You use tobacco in shisha, and I do really love Ombre narguilé. I mean, that's one of the best shisha scents out there. What if Peroli is saying, will you do a top 10 best tobacco perfumes? Or maybe I will need to. The Tobaccolor frag in my collection serves its purpose with more sparkle and longevity, in my opinion. The Nectarine Man says, I'm guessing you mean the Dior there. Demeter pipe tobacco, says Navid, is such a realistic burning pipe. I don't think many people could handle it. Tea for Two is a great tobacco, says Thomas. Now, okay, so for me, Tea for Two is much more about the Lapsang tea, but it does also have those sort of sweet caramelized notes. What else did I think of? I thought of Serge Lutin's Chergui, his Écrin de Fumée or Écrin Fumé from earlier this year counts as well. Woozy says Amouage Boundless has a nice tobacco note and is better than Royal Tobacco in my opinion. And then there was one which stayed with us very, very briefly and then sadly was discontinued, but I've still got my bottle. It was from Xenia. Do you remember when they did, they did a collection, I think, called something like Elements of Man? And one of them was called Strength, and Strength was a really, really nicely done tobacco. I haven't got a press release for this, but I do have a pre-sprayed blotter, one that was sprayed about an hour and a half to 2 hours ago. But I can read you a little bit of the blurb from the Guerlain website, which obviously you can check out yourselves as well. They say that this is an ambery, woody interpretation of tobacco. Yeah, that's right. The wickedly sensual substance of raw tobacco reveals itself as an accord, unveiling its most beautiful facets when touched by honey. A contrasting olfactory tension is struck between the golden sheen of honey and the intoxicating vibrancy of the tobacco accord. And I agree. It absolutely does all of those sorts of things. Here's the pre-sprayed one. Yeah, I mean, also makes me think of Roaring Radcliffe. Do you remember that from Penhaligon's, which was my favorite from the portraits? Discontinued. That was a great tobacco. A deliciously ambery tobacco accord is enveloped in vanilla, tonka bean, and sesame, it says. To the music of honey, Delphine Jelk plays tobacco's most beautiful score in a melody of warm ambery notes. Quote from her, if it were a masterpiece, a patchwork of tobacco leaves like an arte povera land art. I'm not familiar with arte povera. The scent of tobacco honey may call to mind a piece of Italian arte povera land art, the avant-garde art movement born in the 60s that included works presenting materials in their raw state. Reprising this creative approach, tobacco honey exalts an assemblage of tobacco leaves with 1,000 nuances. Okay, maybe that's a little bit of an oversell. And maybe the whole, raw tobacco leaf thing is a little bit of an oversell as well. This is a composed, buttoned up, very, very well done perfume. And at the moment, as I'm smelling it, it also makes me think a little bit of the discontinued Cocorico from Jean-Paul Gaultier that was done, I think, by Annick Menardo. Am I right? So, really, really, if you were to sort of ask me, just right out, is this a good tobacco with a touch of sweetness scent, I would have to give it 2 thumbs up. But did we really need it? Do we need to pay, what is it, nearly £300 for 100 mils of it? Yeah, that's up to you, I think. But it's very, very well done. It's very, very well done. And I think the thing that I especially appreciate about it given how things are at the moment in perfumery, is that they have not gone to town with the sweetness. They have really, really dialed down the sweetness in favor of the smoky, burnt, greeny, leafy earthiness. And that is what gives it that kind of distinguished feel. I mean, okay, this is going to be a very, very obvious connection, but it's quite Hemingway. And I'm not a fan of Hemingway's writing particularly, but this has got that kind of settling down with a pipe or a cigar and I was going to say boring everyone to tears with your anecdotes, but let's say these are not boring anecdotes. You know what I mean? That kind of authoritative, slightly gruff figure. It's making me think of some scenes as well from David Fincher's film about the making of Orson Welles. What was that film called? Mank, wasn't it? And let's end with a recommendation from one of you. Drawn by Sense says, my favorite tobacco perfume in my collection is Miller Harris Feuille de Tabac. And okay, no, we need to do this one comment as well. JCJCZMZ says, Hemingway is the most overrated writer of his generation. Okay, thank you very much for watching. We will be back in a few minutes after YouTube has done his thing. Its thing rather. We will be back with something really rather different, very, very different from this. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you soon. Bye now.